It lasted one night. By morning, it was over. 12,000 people were dead. An entire ruling class had been wiped from existence. A government had collapsed. And a man nobody had ever heard of had declared himself Field Marshal and revolutionary leader of an island most people could not find on a map. Britain knew. America knew. They said nothing. They did nothing. Because the man who ordered the killing was useful to them. This is the story of the Zanzibar Revolution, one of the bloodiest nights in African history and one of the most deliberately forgotten. Subscribe to History Under Radar right now, because this is exactly the kind of story they never want you to find. To understand what happened on the night of January 12, 1964, you have to understand what Zanzibar was. Zanzibar is a small island, 30 miles off the coast of Tanzania in the Indian Ocean. For centuries, it was one of the most important trading posts in the world. Spices, ivory, and slaves. Zanzibar was the beating heart of the East African slave trade. Arab merchants had controlled the island for centuries, and when the British arrived, they did what the British always did. They made a deal with whoever was already in charge. They kept the Arab Sultan on his throne. They kept the Arab ruling class in their positions. And they left, handing power not to the African majority who lived and worked on the island, but to the same Arab elite that had enslaved them for generations. By 1963, Zanzibar had just gained independence from Britain. On paper, it was free. In reality, nothing had changed. The Sultan still sat on his throne. The Arab minority still controlled the land, the government, the economy, the police, the military. Approximately 20% of the population controlled everything, while the African majority, 80% of the island, owned almost nothing. They worked the land, they built the buildings, they loaded the ships, and they watched the wealth of their island flow into the hands of people who had enslaved their grandparents. 2 elections had been held. Both times, the African Majority Party won more votes. Both times, the Arab-dominated government found ways to stay in power. The message was clear. Your votes do not matter here. Your voices do not matter here. You do not matter here. Enter John Okello. Okello was not from Zanzibar. He was from Uganda, a laborer, a bricklayer, a man with no formal military training, no political education, no backing from any major power, just a burning conviction that what was happening on this island was wrong, and that someone needed to do something about it. Okello had been organizing quietly for months, moving through the African communities of Zanzibar, recruiting, training, planning. He was charismatic in a way that is difficult to explain. People followed him, not because he was educated, not because he was wealthy, but because he spoke with the absolute certainty of someone who genuinely believed they had been chosen by God to liberate his people. He told his recruits they could not be killed, that God had made them bulletproof, that this night was their destiny, and they believed him. January 12, 1964, 2 a.m. Okello gives the order. Approximately 600 to 800 men move simultaneously across the island, armed with whatever they could find: machetes, axes, old hunting rifles, a handful of stolen police weapons, against a professional police force, against a military, against the entire established order of a nation. By any military calculation, this should have failed within minutes. It did not. The first target is the main police armory. It falls within the hour. Now they have weapons, real weapons, and everything changes. By dawn, Okello controls Zanzibar. The speed of it is almost impossible to comprehend. In less than 12 hours, a man with no military training, no foreign backing, no professional army, has overthrown a government, seized an entire island, and begun broadcasting on national radio. His broadcasts are unlike anything ever heard on African radio. He does not speak like a politician. He speaks like a prophet. He announces himself as Field Marshal Okello. He declares the revolution complete. He tells the Arab population their time is over. And what follows those broadcasts is where the story becomes something much darker. The killing begins. Not on the night of the revolution itself, but in the days that follow. Arab men are hunted through the streets. Arab homes are burned. Arab businesses are destroyed. Estimates of the death toll range from 5,000 to 12,000 people. In a population of approximately 300,000, that is one person in every 25. Dead in days. The violence is not organized military action. It is the explosion of generations of humiliation and resentment. It is what happens when people who have been told for centuries that they do not matter finally decide that they do. That does not make it right, but it makes it comprehensible, and comprehending it is the only way to understand what comes next. Subscribe to History Under Radar right now. Every week, we go deeper into the stories they buried. Britain has 30,000 citizens living in Zanzibar and nearby Tanzania. They are watching this happen. The British government is watching this happen. The American government is watching this happen. And here is what makes Zanzibar different from every other revolution of this era. Nobody intervenes. No strongly worded statements from London. No emergency UN Security Council sessions. No naval ships appearing offshore. Nothing. Silence. Why? Because Okello's revolution had been immediately taken over by a man Britain and America found much more useful than a religious Ugandan laborer who claimed to be bulletproof. His name was Abeid Karume. Karume was the leader of the Afro-Shirazi Party, the political organization that represented the African majority. He was organized, he was politically sophisticated, and most importantly, he was not a communist. Or at least, he was not yet a communist. The Cold War was at its peak in 1964. Every revolution in Africa was viewed through a single lens in Washington and London. Is this man with us or against us? Karume positioned himself carefully. He was willing to talk to everyone: the Americans, the British, the Soviets, the Chinese. He played all sides, and initially, Washington decided they could work with him. So they let the killing happen. They looked away from 12,000 deaths because the man now in charge was someone they believed they could manage. They were wrong. Within months, Karume had aligned Zanzibar firmly with the Soviet Union and Communist China. East German advisors arrived on the island. Soviet weapons followed. The Americans had watched 12,000 people die, said nothing, done nothing, and ended up with a Soviet-aligned state 30 miles off the East African coast anyway. Britain's response was more calculated. They pushed for Zanzibar to merge with the mainland territory of Tanganyika, creating a new nation, Tanzania. This merger accomplished two things. It diluted Zanzibar's revolutionary government within a larger, more moderate state, and it buried the story of what had happened there. In the creation of a new country, a new name, a new narrative, the Zanzibar Revolution simply disappeared from the international conversation. And what happened to John Okello, the man who started it all. He was removed from power within weeks, expelled from Zanzibar, then expelled from Tanzania, then expelled from Kenya, then expelled from Uganda. He spent the rest of his life moving between African countries, stateless, powerless, forgotten. The man who changed the history of an island ended up with nothing, not even a country to call home. Here is what the Zanzibar Revolution actually tells us. The people who start revolutions are almost never the people who benefit from them. Okello organized the revolution. Karume took the power. The Arab ruling class lost everything. The African majority gained very little. And Britain and America, who watched 12,000 people die without saying a word, came away with exactly what they wanted. The bodies were barely cold, and the geopolitical calculation was already complete. That is what power looks like everywhere. When the powerful decide that some lives matter less than strategic interests, they stay silent, they look away, and they wait to see who comes out on top. Then they make their deal. Remember that. History Under Radar. Subscribe. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this story. And come back next Sunday because we are just getting started.